What is up, XRP community? Welcome back to another video. Thank you for joining me and thank you for all the support on the channel. The second largest bank failure in American history has happened in First Republic Bank, in a really cool feature from the CTO of Ripple about the XRP ledger and something that's really going to ignite adoption. Let's hop right into it. JP Morgan has acquired troubled First Republic Bank. JP Morgan Chase, they're set to acquire First Republic Bank after early efforts to rescue it failed. They basically put in some bids and they won on April 29th. The California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation closed First Republic Bank today and entered into an agreement with the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, FDIC. JP Morgan will assume all assets of First Republic Bank, including uninsured deposits. This is the second, like I was just saying at the beginning of the video, this is the second largest bank failure in American history. First Republic Bank had $229 billion in assets, $100 billion in deposits. As part of the transfer, all the locations in 8 states will reopen as JP Morgan Chase. And the big banks are just getting bigger. But guys, don't worry, stay calm. President Biden says we are well on the way to stabilizing the banking system. And JP Morgan CEO, the company that acquired this failing bank, he says the system is very, very sound after his bank buys the failed First Republic Bank. Keep in mind, guys, JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon is also the guy that fudded Bitcoin. And in that same weekend that he fudded Bitcoin, it was revealed that JP Morgan made the largest Bitcoin purchase in history. And speaking of digital assets, if you need a spot to get XRP or Flare, I recommend Uphold. It's sleek, it's simple, it's secure, and it's where I dollar cost and buy my XRP and Flare every single day. A link to Uphold in the video description below. Crypto Man Ran, this is one of the biggest influencers in the crypto space. He says this is not a banking collapse. This is a coordinated effort to strengthen big donor banks before a CBDC. And I saw a tweet today. The International Monetary Fund says over 100 CBDCs are currently in the work. So personally, I kind of agree with Crypto Man Ran here. I believe this is a coordinated effort to strengthen big donor banks like JP Morgan. Now, do you guys disagree with that, or do you agree and think there are going to be more banks to fail? Let me know in the comment section below. JP Morgan was able to acquire First Republic Bank despite the rule against one bank controlling more than 10% of U.S. deposits. JP Morgan now holds more than $2.4 trillion in deposits. So I'm not a CFA, I'm not a CPA, but I guess there's a rule in the banking industry that you can't control more than 10% of U.S. deposits. JP Morgan gets a pass on that. And a great tweet here, a thread from Bloomberg Opinion. 3 of the 4 largest bank failures have occurred in the last 2 months. Yet the Fed is still expected to raise interest rates again this week. So if you guys know why these banks are failing, let me brief you on it very fast. Banks take deposited funds, they get more from the Federal Reserve, and then they want to make money on your deposits, right? So they typically will buy safe things like bonds, government bonds. Now, when the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, like it's going to do again this week, that makes the value of these bonds less. This year, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates faster than they ever have at any time in history, right? We had rapid rate hikes like we've never seen before. And this caused these banks to have massive losses. First, it was Silicon Valley Bank, we had Signature Bank, there was another S Bank, and now we have First Republic Bank, which is more than double of Signature Bank. JP Morgan is acquiring First Republic Bank in an emergency government-led intervention after private efforts to rescue the troubled lender failed. The solution to the bank's crisis raises more concerns about the U.S. financial system. Here's a timeline of the First Republic Bank meltdown. Geez, sorry to really hurt your ears there. Just look at the stock price, though. Trading at about $130 a share to almost zero. JP Morgan is now the largest depository institution in the United States, holding 17% of the total amount of deposits, which is $17 trillion. This, in effect, makes JP Morgan's policies on when to tighten and loosen credit have almost as much effect as the Federal Reserve's decisions to raise or lower interest rates. Fun fact, guys, did you know that the Federal Reserve, the entity that controls the whole money supply and the power of the dollar is actually not federal, but that yet it's a private bank, yet they still call it the Federal Reserve. And now we have another private bank, JP Morgan, being way more powerful than they should have the right to be. Let me know in the comments below if you knew the Federal Reserve is not actually federal. Forget about uninsured deposits, says Mohammed El Arian on Squawk CNBC. Between Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic Bank, the message is very clear. Every deposit is guaranteed, including the supposedly uninsured deposits of the banks themselves. And think about this, guys. Banks take risks to make returns on your deposits. Now, we have this precedent where if a bank makes a mistake or they take too many risky decisions, we're just going to bail them out. So what do you think the banks are going to do in the future? You think they're going to make less risky decisions now that they know they'll just be bailed out? No. So now we're in a cycle where banks are just going to make more and more irrational decisions to chase these returns because they know if they fail, they'll get bailed out. Moving forward now. This is a clip from Daniel J.E. Davies, 801 XRP. And this guy is the former head lawyer for the CFTC. Now, before I play that, though, I want to show you this clip of David Schwartz, Ripple CTO, talking about one of the best features of the XRP ledger.
There are also changes that are in the form of new features. One of the features that I think is very exciting is a feature that would allow people to launch, well, stablecoins are the obvious use case, but it's not just stablecoins. It's essentially assets pegged to some external value.
So assets pegged to external value. It could be stablecoins, but we're moving into a world where tokenization is everything. Your house deed, your birth certificate. I believe personally that all this stuff will be on the blockchain, and they need a ledger to be able to tokenize these assets, to peg them to the value of something on the blockchain. XRP does exactly that. Now, Daniel J.E. Davis, like I was just saying, this is the former head lawyer for the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. All right, talking about the SEC and Gary Gensler, extremely informative. Take a listen.
Approved by the commission as a whole have asserted that number 1, 2, 3, 5, and 12 are all commodities, meaning they're not securities. The top two of those, Ether and Bitcoin, which comprise, depending on the day, about 60% of the market, have been trading on CFTC regulated exchanges for over 5 years now. And the SEC has never formally challenged any of those contracts. And so if you take the five, those top five that the CFTC has asserted are commodities, that's 75% of the market that a fellow regulator has said are not securities. Well, certainly the SEC, with all of the chairman's statements, of course, they've probably made similar claims. Well, let's look at what they said. Of those top 12, the SEC has asserted that number 6, XRP, is a security, which is still in litigation, as we know. XRP is 2% of the market. The CFTC, when they brought their claim against Binance, you can have all sorts of arguments about the underlying strength of that allegation. But in that complaint, the CFTC argued, once again, referenced Bitcoin and Ether and Litecoin and Tether and USDC, all major digital assets were the bases for the CFTC complaint. And the argument is that, Binance was trading swaps, that swaps is CFTC jurisdiction, and Binance.com was trading with U.S. persons. Fine. Well, the SEC recently brought a complaint against Bittrex. And they referenced several currencies, but they focused on 6. They said these 6 digital assets are the ones that we think makes Bittrex a national security exchange. They should have been a dealer. They should have registered as a clearing agency. Bittrex trades well over 100 coins. I didn't match them all up, but it's most of the top coins in market capitalization. They didn't go after the top 10. They didn't go after the top 20 or the top 30. You have to get to number 40 before the SEC alleges that one of them was a security. And they also allege that number 77, 164, number 1,186, number 2,092, and number 2,999 in terms of market capitalization were securities. And Bitrex has asserted in a public statement that the SEC never told them which of the digital assets they were trading were securities. So if I'm a general counsel and the SEC tells me that 2%, it amounts to about 1.5 to 2% of the total market capitalization on my exchange are securities, well, one thing I might decide to do is maybe I won't trade those particular ones. That's very different than facing, an injunction for having to be a national securities exchange. So I think there is, given commission action, I think there is some clarity developing on the larger digital assets about where the jurisdiction lies, because the SEC, for all of their talk, hasn't challenged the CFTC on any of these assertions. And so, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And so I hope that this type of activity, I agree it would be great if we get a formal court decision in one of these cases.
I agree with that as well. And it's going to be interesting in the coming months, in the next year, how the SEC and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, the CFTC, where this guy used to be the head lawyer, the top dog, which one has jurisdiction over these assets? The CFTC is claiming, hey, SEC, you need to back off. These are not all securities. There's some actual commodities here. And remember my video from a few days ago, we had a 2018 clip of Gary Gensler in his MIT classroom talking about most cryptocurrencies being cash assets and not subject to securities laws. Oh, how that's changed. And this really builds off the tweet from Crypto Man Ran. This is not a collapse. This is a coordinated effort to strengthen the traditional financial system. And I really do believe that. If you guys made it to the end of the video, comment CBDC in the comments section below. I appreciate you giving me 12 minutes of your day. And if you want $41 guaranteed for free, sign up with Webull, deposit just a penny, and you can get up to $3K in free stocks. Typically, you just get $40 to $300, but you're guaranteed the lowest value is $41 in free stocks just for signing up and depositing a penny. A link to Webull in the video description below. God bless you guys. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. Until next time.